Hi everyone. In this session, we'll be looking at method references and lambda expressions in Java. Method references allow us to refer to methods without actually calling them directly, and they can provide references to static method, instance method of a particular object, instance method of an arbitrary object of a particular type, and references to constructor. A lambda expression, on the other hand, is used when we want to define inline functionality without creating a separate method. In this demonstration, we'll be combining both method references and lambda expression. To see how they work, we'll need to create a functional interface. A functional interface enables us to use lambda expression and method references more flexibly. So in step 1, I'll be creating a functional interface called display, which will have single abstract method called show display message. The interface display is a functional interface, meaning it can be used with lambda expression or method references. Next, what we'll do is we'll have a class called showboard, and inside the class we'll try to have two methods. One method as a static method which will print the message static show, and an instance method which will print instance show. I'm creating the class showboard and inside that two methods. First, my static method called show static, public static void show static, and inside that static show. And my next method, instance method, is void show instance is my next method. This method will print instance show. Now inside our class, let's try to refer to our static method reference first. So I'm adding my main method. So in order to reference my show static method, first what I'll do is I'll try to create a reference variable for my interface. My reference variable is display, and I'm going to set this equals to my static method. So equals to, and how you will make this reference is class name double colon and static method name. So my class name is showboard double colon and my static method name. Now I'll be calling my show display message to invoke my static method. So with my reference variable dot show display message of the interface. Now by calling display dot show display message, this is going to invoke my static method. Running this will be printing static show message in the console. Let's try to do that. The output is showing static show. Now what we did here is we were trying to use static reference here, which is class name double colon your static method name. Static method reference. So the same thing can be performed by lambda as well. The reason why one would choose method reference over lambda is method reference conveys the meaning directly, whereas lambda doesn't. Now let's see what I mean by that. Lambda reference or static method. So for this, your first step is definitely calling your interface and create a reference variable for that, which is in this case display, and display1 is going to be my reference variable. To call your lambda, you will need parenthesis, lambda operator, then your showboard class name dot show static. Next, use your reference variable, which is display1 dot call the show display message. Now when we run this, we'll see the same static show message appearing, but this time we use lambda to retrieve the value. Next, what we will do is we'll try to do method references to an instance method of a particular object. So for that, what we will do is I'm going to create an instance for the class, which is my showboard class. My variable name is showboard equals to operator showboard constructor. Next, what I'll do is I'll create another variable for my interface, which is display. And this variable name is display2, which is equals to showboard double colon show instance. If you look at the syntax, it is instance double colon and the method name. So my instance that I created for the class was showboard double colon, and the method that I wanted to refer is show instance. Finally, with your interface variable, which is display2 dot call your show display message, and the same behavior can be replaced with lambda. So I'm going to copy the full message here. Here I'm going to put it as showboard1. This will be display3, and instead of using showboard double colon show instance, we'll apply lambda expression there, which is parenthesis lambda operator your showboard1 variable dot the method, which is show instance. Next, we'll have to call the display3 variable and then display3 variable dot show display message. Now let's try to run this. We'll be able to see instance show method twice, message twice, one printed by method reference and second printed by lambda expression. Next, let's try to use method reference for an arbitrary object. Instance method reference of an arbitrary object. For this, I'm going to use Java's inbuilt consumer functional interface. I'll declare consumer of type showboard and create a reference variable for that, which is showboard consumer equals to the reference method is going to be the syntax is class name double colon instance method, which means your showboard class name double colon and your show instance. Now use your showboard consumer variable and then dot with accept method. I'm going to pass new showboard. Similarly, the same can be achieved via lambda expressions. So I'm going to copy this and my variable is going to be renamed to 1. So consumer of showboard of type showboard and then showboard consumer 1 variable equals to within parenthesis mb lambda operator mb dot show instance, then showboard consumer 1 dot accept, and inside that pass showboard. Let's try to run this. It has to print instance show 2 more times because what we are doing is instance method reference of an arbitrary object, and we used consumer functional interface over the showboard class of type showboard. Finally, let's see how we can use constructor reference, and for constructor reference, I will have to introduce one more interface called showboard factory. Interface showboard factory, and inside that I'm going to have a single abstract method called create, and the type for this message for this method is going to be showboard type. So let's create a reference variable for our showboard factory. Factory showboard factory equals to, so we need to create type of showboard. So for that, showboard double colon new. Now for the showboard class, create a reference variable which is showboard2 equals to your factory reference variable dot the method create. And now with this variable, which is my class variable, I will be able to call show instance method. So this when run will be printing show instance show message in the console. So now we try to use method reference of constructor reference. The same can be done with lambda as well, which is showboard factory reference variable showboard factory 1 equals to parenthesis tends to new showboard next showboard reference variable 3 showboard 3 equals to your factory variable dot create method. Finally, your class variable dot show instance method. If I run this, 2 more instance show message will be printed in the console. Now, if we look at it, we try to achieve the functionality of displaying the message between the classes using method reference and lambda reference as well. The key difference between your method reference and lambda is your method reference are more often concise and easier to read as they directly point to the method without requiring parameter declaration or invocation syntax. But when you look at your lambda expression, they are more explicit about what is happening as you define the parameters and the body directly. However, this can make your code more verbose. And one of the key point that needs to be noted down is your display interface has no connection with your showboard class. But because your show static method and show instance method match your show display message signature, both their signatures are same, their references are easier to work perfectly when we are doing method references or lambda references. In short, method references in Java work with functional interfaces by matching method signature, not by requiring inheritance relationship. This allows you to treat existing methods as implementation of functional interface method without modifying the original class, which is we were not doing any modification to our showboard class at all. This flexibility is a hallmark of functional programming in Java, allowing you to compose functions and interface without rigid class relationship. So a quick summary of what we saw in this program. We started by creating an interface called display, which is a functional interface, and a class called showboard. We saw how to refer to a static method with showboard double colon show static method. Then we reference the instance method with showboard